Hello and welcome to this week's IG Live. Today we are going to be talking to author Suma Subramaniam, and she has a number of books out, but we're going to be focusing on this beautiful book that just came out, and it's My Name is Long as a River. So perfect for AAPI month or really any time of year. Also would be great beginning of the school year, talking about how kids can be proud of their names and learn how to pronounce names correctly. So I'll get her on here for you. 2 p.m. Eastern, but watch for those announcements. Sometimes we have to adjust the time. And we talk to the creators of diverse children's books. So that's authors, illustrators, sometimes even publishers. Hi.
Hi. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, just fine.
Amazing. I'm so glad I made it.
Me too. It is so nice to talk with you.
Nice to talk with you too. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for joining us. And I was just showing off your book, although I know you have a number of books. You have another book that's coming out, actually, I think this month, right? Bindi Can Be.
Bindi Can Be just released last week, Liana. So I actually have a copy of it here. So it released on May 7th, and My Name is Long as a River releases on May 28th.
Yes, that's right. I'm lucky enough I have a copy, so I was able to read it ahead of it. So beautiful. Why don't we go ahead and jump in? First, tell us, excuse me, tell us about yourself and what was your journey to becoming an author?
So my name is Suma Subramaniam, like everybody knows, and I'm a children's book author, and I pretty much write for children. And my books are mostly based on Indian heritage and the diaspora, and also about India. And they're usually STEM and STEAM topics. I began writing a very long time ago, but I really started writing seriously for children in 2010 when I attended my first SEBWI conference here in Washington State. And I knew at that time that these are the people that I want to hang out with for the rest of my life. And that's how my journey began. And then fast forward to 2015, I got accepted to the MFA program in writing for children and young adults at the Vermont College of Fine Arts. And fast forward to 2019, my short story won the We Need Diverse Books short story contest, and then it was published in an anthology, a middle grade anthology called The Hero Next Door. And and then it's been a journey. In 2021, I had a couple more books, 2022, a couple more, and then last year I had the Runaway Dosa, and then this year I have 3 books coming, and then I have a few more that are releasing in the next few years.
That's so exciting. Well, why don't we jump in and talk about My Name is Long as a River. Where did the idea come from for the book? Maybe you can tell us a little bit about it for those who haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, absolutely. So the inspiration for My Name is Long as a River came from having a long name myself, and the many times it was misspelled and mispronounced. And I wrote this story drawing from my own family history. So sometime in 2020, my agent Miranda Paul and editor Elizabeth Lee and I exchanged emails and about writing a new story, and then we brainstormed a story about a name that is long and difficult to say. And that led me through this long and winding path of revelations, and that's how I drew inspiration from my own family history to write this book.
And you've said that a name, when it's pronounced correctly, is comforting and familiar. So maybe you could talk a little bit about why it's so important when you're meeting somebody to take the time to get their name right, even if it is long or difficult to say.
Yeah. So names are important and they have power. And I talk about this in the back matter of my book, and there is a detailed description about how to get names right. And if you look at the back matter, I also have a small author's note that talks about why names are important around the globe, and how it is it's one of the most valued and celebrated aspects of a child's identity.
Mhm.
Now, when I grew up, I also had a naming ceremony, and most Indian families celebrate something called Namakaranam, which is a naming ceremony as soon as a baby is born. And it's one of the most important rituals in the life of a person. So families take a lot of effort in choosing the name, and it's not just the name, but they find a beautiful meaning for the name for the newborn, and most times it carries a slice of culture and history for
Mhm.
them. And um, personally, I know that my name changed as I grew up, because it became longer. But then a lot of people misspelled and mispronounced it, and uh, they mispronounced it so many times that even my legal papers right now have the wrong name. And in fact, Suma Subramaniam, the way I name that I use right now, is also misspelled. That's not my original name. But at some point, I really got tired of, correcting people, and even I could no longer revisit my original name and make a change yet again. So that's why I wrote this book, because it came from the many times people struggled to spell or say my name, and then they gave up, and that left me feeling ignored,
Right.
over looked and unseen. And um, and it's important because children in schools right now come from different backgrounds, and the one common thing that we all share is our
Mm.
names. And in every community, it matters to pronounce people's names correctly. And because names are a big part of our cultural identity. And when a name is mispronounced or when it's changed, and it's not usually done consciously, it may be done, out of a mistake. But a child can feel invisible because of it in a classroom, and they're less likely to make friends in school.
Mm.
And a name provides specificity. It can be a big part of boosting a child's self confidence. And with globalization, the names that the number of names that we cannot pronounce is going to increase, and we are going to make mistakes. It's not going to be any easy for all of us, because we're not all perfect. But it's important to make that effort to say it correctly, and uh, make sure that we're not disrespecting anyone, and it's okay to ask for help if we struggle with a name, and it's okay to let someone know how to pronounce your name. And
Right.
that's why the back matter of My Name is Long as a River has several tips on how to get names right. And if anyone has a name that is long or difficult to say, then just remember that names have power, and it's about the strength and joy of embracing them. And um, I can't wait for everyone to read this book, and I can't wait to see it out in the world.
It is such a beautiful book, and like you said, there's such an important link between a name and culture and heritage, and also like you said, how it's so important for a child's confidence when people get their names right, because the main character in the book is really embarrassed about her name until her grandmother teaches her more about it, and as she learns about the meaning and thinks about the link to her family and heritage. How do you think that can help a child, like when they're going through this, as often happens, as you said, they're in the classroom, people are mispronouncing their name. How do you think helping the child understand kind of the beauty and the power of their name can help them boost their confidence, and like you said, because it's the two sides, it's the people mispronouncing it, but also the child saying, Okay, no, here's how you say my name correctly, and that's something that can be hard for kids, right?
Yes, absolutely. And that's why it's important to not only learn to say someone's name correctly, but also be proud of your name and state your name proudly.
Right.
So, you tell someone how what your preferred name is and how you would like to be called. Explain the meaning and the importance of your name. Tell them a story about how you were given your
Mhm.
name. All of us have name stories, and you can make a name badge or you can pronounce your name phonetically and let everyone know proactively in advance before you're making a presentation, before you're having a conversation. You can give it to them, and they're going to be talking about you. Give them your name and show them how it's pronounced phonetically so you can help them pronounce it correctly. And if someone makes a mistake, it's okay. You can pronounce it again and correct them if it's necessary. And sometimes it also helps to um, listen to how people pronounce others' names. And if you hear someone mispronouncing your friend's name, then you speak up and just correct them politely. And if you forget how to say someone's name, you ask for clarification. So simple things like that can go a long way. And at the end of the day, we're all trying to help each other, and we're all here to respect the names and identities of all people. And we have to find small ways to do that.
And I have to say, from my end, I love that you and I've seen this on other people's websites also. You have right at the top, here's where to go, here's how to pronounce my name. So I got to go and listen to it a few times and practice it before we got on here. So I knew, which made me feel better. I knew how to pronounce it correctly. So, and I also love the idea of being a friend. And when you hear somebody else mispronouncing someone's name, that you can step in, because I imagine I would just think that for the person who has that difficult name, it must be tiring to do that. But so somebody else steps in and kind of helps share the burden, that can be, I imagine, a nice way to do it. Um, so one of the central metaphor, of course, is about the river, and because that's where she get her name from. How did you come up with the idea of using that, the name as long as a river, and also how powerful and life-giving it is? How did you come up with that central metaphor for this?
Yeah, so that's a great question, by the way. So thank you for asking me that. And like I said, I actually drew this story from my own personal history. And so Kaveri would have been the name of the child that my husband and I would have had if we had one. And it's also my husband's great grandmother's name, and also the name of the river that connects our family's ancestral origins in South India. And if you look at the Kaveri River, um, it's a river that extends approximately 475 miles in South India, and it extends for across
Mhm.
it extends across three states and a union territory, and that covers about 250,000 acres of
Wow.
land. So the river by itself it carries a lot of history and also stories, and people celebrate the river and they honor the river, and that's why this child also goes on this journey to celebrate the Kaveri Pushkaram, and Pushkaram is a festival that celebrates and honors the Kaveri River once in every 12 years.
Mm.
It happens in India, and all of the people gather and they eat food made out of the rice and grains that are grown along the belt of the Kaveri River, and they celebrate the occasion together. And the places that are referenced in this story are pretty much along that belt. So I have four places there: Srirangapatna, Tanjavur, Tiruvayyaru, and Poompuhar. And there are also references in the back matter to poems and sayings from South India, from 4 different languages: Tamil Sangam literature, Kannada, Kodava, and Sanskrit. And they're all written in praise of the Kaveri River and how, uh, uh, you know, people have glorified the river over the years for making the land fertile for its people.
Beautiful. And I was trying to show some of the pictures as you were talking about it, and just to say also what gorgeous illustrations there are in this book, if you hadn't already guessed from the cover, which is so beautiful. But it's really just a beautiful book. And as we talked about, it encourages children to recognize the importance and beauty of the name. So what do you hope that children take away from their books, both for themselves and for people that they might meet?
So Liana, first of all, let me also put in a plug for my illustrator, because I totally loved her work here, and I lucked out on getting Tara Anand, and she has been just a brilliant contributor to this book, and she owns
Even
half of
just
the book.
the end
Yeah.
papers are just
Yes, yeah. So if you look at that, those are Tanjavur dancing dolls, which are specific to the place that Kaveri is born. So she was born in Tanjavur, according to this story, and that is the city where these dolls are made, and that's where she got that inspiration from. And the second part of your question was, what is the main message that I'd love readers to take, right? So it is to remember that names have power, and it's okay to have a name that is long and difficult to say, um, and the back matter in My Name is Long as a River has several tips on how to get names right.
right. I love that you included that, both how to get names right, and then for the person who has the name, how to make sure to how to help others do it. And also you make the point that you kind of touched on this already, but that when you show respect for somebody's name, you're really respecting them and their identity. And why is this so important, especially like you said, as we're becoming more and more globalized? So we're meeting more and more people who are from different cultures and different backgrounds. Why is it so important to show that respect and to really take that time?
Oh, again, such a great question, especially in this month, which is Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month. Being Indian in America predisposes me to certain stereotypes. So, having a long name is by itself a stereotype, and but it also allows me to access specific cultural strengths that are a big part of my identity. And I'm here to say that names can be long, but they can be beautiful and they can be unique, and we can be proud of where we come from. So I wrote this story to create that deliberate space in children's literature and encourage children to reflect on their cultural backgrounds and decode the significance of names and find the strength and joy in embracing them.
It's so beautiful, and thank you. And I know you haven't been able to see the comments that have been coming through since you've been talking, but people talking about how beautiful the art is, but also just how meaningful this book is to them because they have gone through this experience themselves, and so important to have a book like this. So I know everybody really appreciates that. But I do want to give you a chance to plug your other books because you have another book that just came out earlier this month, Bindi Can Be, and then I know you said you have some others that will be coming out. If you'd like to take some time to talk about those for a minute.
Sure. So Bindi Can Be celebrates the significance of bindis. So it's not just about a relationship. It's a beautiful relationship about a grandmother and granddaughter exploring the significance of bindis. But it's more than that. It's also about showing that a bindi is more than just a dot. It has rich history, and it carries deep symbolism and meaning for the people who wear it. So I hope readers who read this book understand why people wear bindis, and they come away with a lot of knowledge and empathy for those who wear it, and also develop a deep sense of respect and honor it for the respect that it deserves. Um, and have my first book in my first middle grade, and I'd say early middle grade and chapter book
Mm.
um, that's coming out in November of this year. It's the first of a series, and it's called V. Malar, Greatest Host of All Time. And it's about this 10-year-old girl who goes on adventures and celebrates holidays and festivals, and she's funny and she makes a lot of mistakes and has a lot of fun making them. And this first one is about the harvest festival called Pongal, which is celebrated, which is pretty much the Diwali of South India, I should say. And it's celebrated in January of every year.
Mm. Well, I can't wait to see those. And how was it for you writing middle grade after having done picture books? Although I think you said you had already done a short story for a middle grade anthology, but to do your first full length book, how did you find that experience?
Well, it was fantastic. I am so grateful to have Kate Fletcher as my editor. She's the editor of Meg Medina. I couldn't just ask for anyone better to be the editor on this manuscript. And I love all the insights and feedback that she's given me. And I should also put in a plug here for my wonderful agent, Miranda Paul, who advocates for everything that I write. And she's not only an advocate for me, for my writing, but also for me. And she's talking about me even when I'm not writing. So I have to really put in a plug for her. And she's just a wonderful human all around. And just having these people back me up was great. And the the story started off as a picture book, and then I shared it with a few trusted friends who asked me so many questions, and then I had the character just write herself, and it just became longer and no longer, and then it became a middle grade.
Right.
And that's pretty much how it transpired. Everything starts off as a picture book, and some books just become longer.
Oh, I love, well, I can't wait to read it when it comes out, and also your other books. Like I said, we've been talking about My Name as Long as a River, which will be out soon. So look for that. Also look for A Bindi Can Be, which just came out earlier this month. And then we'll look forward to your middle grade or chapter book later this year. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today. And for anybody who's joining late, this will be up in just a few minutes on Instagram. And we're also going to have it up on our YouTube channel, so you can watch the whole thing there. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Liana, and I've seen all your videos on Instagram. They're wonderful. So thank you for all the work that you're doing to promote multicultural books and books that everyone reads and everyone needs.
Yes, thank you so much. And thanks to everybody for watching. We'll see you again next week. Bye.
Bye, everybody.